Robin, before we talk about healthcare systems, economics, and policy, I'd like to start more on a personal note. Why healthcare? What continues to inspire you about this industry?
Yeah, thanks. Healthcare matters a lot to me because I've seen the impact in my private life. Actually, when my daughter suffered from a stroke at a very young age, I was blessed to be in an environment where there were very good healthcare professionals that basically helped her to fulfill most of her potential, or help her with reaching most of the potential that she has. And for us, it has been more about rehabilitation, support. But for other people, I know it's about having the right medicines at the right time. And that's where we work in, and that's why it's very close to me.
Well, thank you for sharing this personal story. I do think that we all have some kind of personal stories behind it, which drives us further on and to be the best in our jobs as well. So we often talk about patient benefit, but what does that actually mean to you?
Patient benefit is something that maybe we should see a little bit broader than what people are thinking initially it is. Of course, it's amazing if we can help patients feel better and live longer. On the other hand, I think there is also more of a societal benefit that we should assess. When patients are actually not sick anymore, they can actually return to work or maybe studying if they're still studying. And that is very important for the individual because obviously they contribute. It's good for their self-fulfillment, but there is also an economical aspect to it.
That's for sure the other aspect of this. And having worked across different healthcare systems, including the Netherlands, Belgium system, for example, what is one thing Slovenia could learn from the Dutch healthcare system?
I do get that question a lot. And what the Dutch are good at is being efficient. They always look for efficiencies in everything they are doing. And so one thing they have established in the Netherlands is having very clear patient pathways, patient treatment pathways. So they consider carefully what happens at one point, the next point, etc., to ensure that there is not a lot of overlap, that it's smooth for the patient, but also with the least cost possible. That is something what they like in the Netherlands, and that the people in the Netherlands are famous for being Dutch. However, it sometimes also comes with a disadvantage that I would like to highlight. Because if you want to be efficient and you think, for example, about elderly people, you might say, maybe they're not worth treating so much as young people because they will not contribute so much and they have less life. But obviously that's not very fair for the individual and also very short-minded because the population is getting older and older, and people will need to continue also contributing to the economy for a longer period of time. So also treating elderly patients is probably a wise thing to do. So maybe they need to change a little bit the way of how they look at efficiencies.
And still stay with the optimization of the processes,
of course,
right?
I mean, keep the positive, but improve the less positive side of things.
And what is one thing Europe could learn from Slovenia?
Now, there are many nice things, but from a healthcare point of view, I think within the Slovenian system, people realize that being a smaller country, we have less resources. And sometimes it's very important to be then pragmatic. We do not have the luxury of having a lot of people being involved in decision-making processes. And that's actually one thing I noticed, that Slovenian healthcare system can, not always, but can be pragmatic. And I've seen this also within SSSS, when they are assessing new medicines, they depend heavily also what other countries have already done. And I think that is really good. They are pragmatic when they are assessing the new medicines. They, of course, look at the things that are important, like the costs involved. but they don't redo the whole process that has maybe already happened in other countries. So that pragmatism I really enjoy, and I think that is very good.
Thank you. And what is one challenge that deserves much more attention than it gets today?
Slovenia, like in many other countries, is experiencing an increase in a demand on healthcare. People are becoming older, which is also a benefit, of course, of better healthcare. But it also means that the people that live longer will require also more healthcare. And this is a spiral that we need to be ready for. And in that sense, that is an area where innovative medicines are obviously a part of the solution.
So, Robin, if you would have a magic wand and could change one thing in Slovenian healthcare tomorrow, what would that be?
I love that question. Of course, if I would have a magic wand, I would like that all Slovenians could live a long and healthy life. And I think we're making the first steps towards that. And that's why I'm also proud to be actually part of healthcare industry, because we make that happen. But sometimes we take it a little bit for granted. I think we have already achieved a lot. If you look back 50 years ago, people were living less long. And let me give an example. We as Johnson & Johnson are very active in the field of multiple myeloma. And where maybe 15 years ago, a diagnosis of multiple myeloma would mean that you would only live for a few years, these days means that you can potentially live 10, 15 years, or maybe even longer if you get the right treatment. So from a diagnosis that means death, we're bringing that to more of a chronic disease and potentially people not dying from it. That is the future. So with that in mind, I also want that we keep the environment as it is where that has been possible. So I think people should recognize what we have already achieved and because of that, continue investing in innovative medicines.
So Slovenia is facing rising absenteeism, workforce shortages, and increasing pressure on healthcare services. So are we looking at a healthcare challenge, or you would say increasingly more on an economic challenge?
This is absolutely both. We're looking at both. Of course, in healthcare, we need to find a way of treating all these patients. At the same time, when these patients are not working, it has a tremendous impact on our economy because they're not productive, they're not producing. And I would love to see a calculation where we actually are able to reduce a little bit absenteeism and see how much money we can actually gain from it. And maybe think how we can then reinvest that for even a better outcome. So for me, it's not just about treating people that are sick at home so that they can be happy, healthy, and back to work. No, it's also about thinking what that means for the economy. And as in Slovenia, absenteeism is very high, it would be an economic driver if we can actually impact that.
So let's move to the last question, actually. It's a little bit more funny, but if you were speaking to the Minister of Finance and Minister of Health, what would your elevator speech be?
I hope I can be so lucky to be with both the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Health in an elevator, because my message would be about indeed keep investing in innovative medicines. And that's not just for healthcare, so not just for the Minister of Health. I think it's very important that the Minister of Finance also sees that if we invest in healthcare, that is not a cost, but that it will return a proper investment over time. And hence, this needs to be the place where you put your money.
So let's have a bit of fun. Let's have a quick pulse check. I will tell you a sentence and please finish with your own words, right?
Okay, very good.
Yeah. So the first sentence is, the future of healthcare is?
Personalized.
Okay, good answer. A healthier society is a more?
Prosperous society.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the best healthcare investment is?
Ultimately, it's best to prevent. So prevention, I would say.
A good one. Healthcare should be measured not only by cost, but by...
As I already said, by its value it brings to society. So value.
Okay. The cost we don't talk enough about is...
There is a huge cost related to poor health. So we should have that poor health.
Health is not a cost. Health is...
It's an investment. It's the best investment you can probably do as a government.
It's a good economic potential, right?
Yes, it is.
One thing Slovenia should be proud of. What do you think?
I know Slovenia a little bit. I have a connection to Slovenian people, and I think Slovenia should be proud of the people. But of course, within the healthcare setting, I think the healthcare professionals are doing a fantastic job, and they should also be recognized for that. So, healthcare professionals.
Okay. One thing Slovenia should be more ambitious about.
I mean, it would be amazing to try and adopt innovation even faster in healthcare and anywhere else.
Each day matters, right?
Correct.
So the future of Slovenia's healthcare system will be successful if we remember that health is not a cost, but...
It's the smartest investment the country can make.
So a good answer, Robin. We will finish with that. Thank you for taking your time and for your very transparent and honest answers. Thank you.
Thanks a lot as well. And I also wanted to thank the Pharma Forum for making this possible.